What's good, family? And welcome back to the Present Center Podcast. This is the space where spiritually minded, high-impact leaders learn to destroy distractions, align with God in the realm of heaven, and fortify their focus on their divine assignment here on earth. Now, here's your host, Christian F. Johnson.
Are you ready?
Then let's go. Listen, let me ask you a question, especially if you're a high impact, spiritually minded leader. Have you ever faced a struggle so strong that it became a kind of an addiction? Now, maybe it's not substance, or maybe it is, but to deal with this posture and this thing, you might realize that I have some things that I need to let go. I need to understand. I need to be in this place because I felt like I've been out of control, and this could really potentially ruin some things until I make this change. Listen, something that potentially pulled you out of alignment with God and the way of the very purpose that He placed you on earth to fill. Like deep down, have you been craving your way back into peace, into focus, into presence? Well, family, I have the perfect guest to help us navigate this conversation. Listen, he is a Christian rehab business owner. He is a recovery coach, a podcaster, and a recovery advocate. I mean, he's about helping people rediscover, freedom and purpose after addiction. So what I want you to do is put your emoji hands together, put some comments in the comment section, and help me welcome my good brother Rob to the Presence-Centered Podcast. All right? Good brother.
Hello. How you doing?
Wonderfully well and improving. How are you?
I was listening to your intro there, and I was just kind of, yes, I've been pulled away. Yes, I wanted to get back to center. Yes, those seasons of life, it was taking me back. And I'm like, wait a minute. Fortunately, I've come out of that season. But I'm like, man, those seasons of just feeling like God is so far away and I just can't get to Him, but yet He's right here. And those are just such a confusing time. But they're awesome times as well. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Man, look, I thank you so much. And I am really honored. We are honored to have you here. And look, today's conversation sits at the right of the heartbeat of what we will call our destroy distractions pillar. We're really about destroying distractions, aligning with God, and fortifying your focus. And so, because here's the truth, is what I found out, Rob, that distraction doesn't always look like temptation. Sometimes it hides behind coping. Right? It shows up like as we overthink or over serving or over chasing this peace and all those things. And so when God allows us to reign and to help us to be really free from being enslaved from that very story, right, that tried to define us, this is that power part. And just by getting to know you in our conversation, listening to a part of your journey, your recovery, your realignment, your redemption, even through presence and what we dig into, I am super excited for us to go ahead and really help the people to move forward as we get there. So you ready to have this conversation?
I am ready.
All right. Before we do, I would like to acknowledge our presence partner. All right. So this episode is brought to us by Expanding Brands, right? The media and marketing partner helping mission-driven leaders bring their God-given vision to life. From custom apparel to websites to promotional items to brand awareness, your message with excellence. Expanding Brands is going to help you extend your reach within strategy, within storytelling, and purpose. Connect today at expandingbrands.com, because when your brand carries presence, it naturally expands. All right, let's get to this thing. All right. So, Rob, look, earlier, I asked our listeners this, and you jumped right in on this, right? But I now want to ask you directly. Have you ever faced a struggle so strong that it became a kind of addiction, right? Something that pulled you away out of that area of alignment, something that pulled you from purpose, the reason why God placed you on this earth. If so, what was it and how did you overcome it?
No, man, I became a Christian as a kid, and it's been easy peasy ever since then.
Are we on the wrong show then? If that's the case, we on the wrong show.
Wrong show then. that was giving me time to like process those seasons because when there's been several of those times in my journey. I suffered from alcohol addiction from 14 to 29. And it's been a wild journey through that, and even in recovery. But God has like called me to do certain big things that I know that were from Him because it's not something I could do. And I'll give you the coolest example where it was a really confusing time because it was what thinks it you think it would set as you're pursuing as I'm pursuing God. You feel like, oh, this is from God. It's got to be something I got to do. Didn't say it was going to be easy. In fact, it's probably going to be really hard. And I sit there and think back when in 2006. So again, I got sober in 2001. Awesome story, which I can share in a little bit. But to your point of your question, God put this big vision on my heart in 2006 to do this humongous 3-day Christian music festival in the mountains of Colorado. I don't play music. Miss Wiley kicked me out of choir when I was in the 4th grade, so I don't sing. I never had that confidence, right? But here's this big vision. I'm just like, man, I'm so not qualified for this. But God literally gave me a clear vision. I'm like, all right, here we go. So I'd say, hey, Fred, guess what? God called me to put together this huge 3-day Christian music festival. And hey, Sarah, would you want to be a part of this huge 3-day Christian music festival? And I'm just like telling people about it, right? And here's the vision of it. Like, man, that sounds amazing. Yeah, how can I be a part of it? And all of a sudden, these people just started coming and they wanted to be a part of it. And the enemy's in the back of my mind going, you're not qualified for this, dude. Like, you've never put on a big event. You've done it, So this whole kind of back and forth thing. And was it me that came up with that idea in a worship service at church? Or was it God, right? Sometimes as a passionate entrepreneur and an ADHD creative, it's just kind of like, whose idea was that? I don't know if you can relate to that, Christian, but it's like high energy. It's like, this sounds awesome, but I am not the guy for this. Yes, I am. I'm the guy for this. Let's go. And so I took that stance, right? And through that, I ended up meeting my wife who worked for K-Love Radio. And it was just an awesome connection because I was talking about this big 3-day Christian music festival. And the vision was huge. And so we just connected because I'm like, man, she's pretty. She loves Jesus. She likes board games. She likes to run, like a lot of connection pieces, right? And then, we end up getting married 6 months later. But here I am, this now husband, right? And then we get pregnant a little while later. Now I'm going to be a father. And here's this big vision that doesn't pay the bills. You've interviewed people that have like following God's passion. It's like purpose and passion don't always equal paycheck.
That's a quote right there.
But how do you shake something? How do you shake something like that God literally put before you? So in a nutshell, the event ended up happening 2 years later. It was a huge event. It was free 3-day Christian music festival in Rifle, Colorado, in Garfield County. 15,000 people came. We had 72 speakers and entertainers on 7 stages. It was like a big, cool deal. But in the midst of that, it was a very hard thing in our marriage to start out with. So you look back on that and it's like, here's this vision. How do you shake it? But here's this woman you married that God's called you to as well. So how do you really align with this mission, passion, purpose, and paycheck for a lot of people that are called, but are they equipped? And it's kind of a confusing thing it was for me and for a lot of the people I've interviewed and run into. It's like, yeah, but you got to also be bringing in a paycheck and food. And it wasn't like there was nothing coming in. It just wasn't, it was a confusing time. Like, how do I set our family up for success? And then it fell apart it was terrible. It fell apart the next 2 years, but the first year it was awesome. I don't even know if that answered your question, but that's where God took me on like it's like, is God really in this? Like, why is this so hard? But why is this so awesome? Why is this awesomely hard? And as my shirt says, today's awesome outlook is sponsored by Jesus and coffee, but I don't always feel awesome in the outlook.
You don't always feel awesome in the outlook. That's really unique. I was looking at, I think it was Luke 10 the other day, when Jesus is sending out, I think it's 72 disciples, and he's like, look, go here, don't take anything, just go. And he's given them authority, he's given them power, and he just releases them. The word there for commission actually looks as the word we get the word apostolic or apostle, right? And so it's that sent area that he's sending them to. But in the scripture, it says even though you feel like lambs amongst the area of wolves. Like, I don't really sometimes feel equipped in this area, but because I am equipped by the king, and the king, right? The sheep are covered by the shepherd. And that's the heart posture that we take in this entrepreneurial leadership role as high, impact spiritually minded leaders. And in the area of distraction that can come along the way, right? Where I feel intimidation, right? Because I can be addicted to success, or I can be addicted to feeling a certain way, or addicted to this past thing, so forth and so on. And so I love your story, because even as you're sharing, you're like, okay, look, I had an addiction of alcohol, okay, right? And I got some freedom from there. And I definitely would love to hear about that story, and how God worked through that area, right? Because there's no judgment whatsoever on this podcast. We all have our various things that didn't disqualify what God has called for us to deal with, to do. And we have these earthly things. We just need to align them to the realm of heaven, right? Then I have a newer marriage. I had this big vision. I don't even know how it's going to take place and happen, but you're in it, God. And I want to continue to move forward in these things. And so if we could just summarize this and say, look, what seems to be impossible is possible with that posture of faith and power and cooperating with God. So I need to know, like, how did you, Rob, like, cooperate with God to get to this place where, okay, now I had addiction and I had a level of success. I had this marriage, I had this big vision, it's ups and downs. I'm even in an area of addiction and recovery. Like, I need to know, like, we want to know, what was the transformation? Like, help us out with that.
Oh, the transformation was believing who I am in Christ. And you just mentioned the word faith, and I love, like in Hebrews chapter 11, it talks about the heroes of faith, right? The ones that didn't quit, the ones that didn't give up against all obstacles. They kept going because God was calling them. And if you look at the word faith, the middle letter in the word faith is I. Okay, so that's a writer down, and write down on a piece of paper as you're listening. Write down the word faith and look at the letter I. Now, what defines I? What defines Rob? Right? Is it Christ or is it the world?
Mm.
And when I allow the I am to define who I am, right? Then those bumps in the road, those obstacles, which I always call opportunities for exercising my faith, those moments I can reflect on my faith, and I can actually look backwards and say, man, God, look how you showed up. That was terrible. I did not have fun in that season, but look how you showed up, and all those experiences, all those life things that happened are part of his story, God's story in my life that God allowed to happen. Now, my knucklehead, self-willed brain and stuff went down these pathways because I wanted to, not necessarily maybe the way, God was saying, like, hey, there's a shorter pathway over here, but I'm going to let you go down that pathway because, man, you don't have enough knots on your head. Let's get a few more. Then maybe you'll be like, hey, do you remember that vision I gave you? Like, Rob, do you remember, like, 8-10 years ago when I gave you the vision to be a Christian recovery coach, and you chose to go be a Christian, or go to be a recovery coach that was just a Christian behind the scenes? Remember when I gave you that website that said .com was available, and you decided to just be a recovery coach that had faith, and I was calling you to be a Christian recovery coach, or this, like, to be out front and be bold with it and not behind the scenes, right? And there were those moments I can look back and I just kind of ignored them. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. Everyone else is doing this. I'm going to go do this over here because I'm full of fear, right? But when I can sit in my faith and just trust that God has a plan, and man, there are stories of that I've lived through that it's blown me away. I'm like, how did I not start drinking again? How did I not start gambling again? How did I not give into those easy things so I can just cover it up and be like, okay, well, this is going to be easier just to numb out because, man, I had fear of success. That's been one of my things, is anxiety, and not fear of failure, but fear of success throughout my life. Because what if I am successful, man? Then I can't play the victim. Then I can't woe is me. Then I can't play the little mini violin I carry around in my hand and my finger and do that deal. It's like, I like that attention sometimes. Oh, poor Rob. Oh, I'm so sorry it didn't work out. It's like there's a sickness and a thing around that too. But I realized many, many years ago, I had a fear of success, not like a fear of failure.
Wow. Wow. Listen, if you're listening to that, somebody fear, over faith, or faith over fear, I would prefer you to put down.
Yes.
And even how Rob is saying, look, like I'm in a place where it's not the failure, it's the area of success. And you can be addicted to that by any means. But he's also saying it's a wonder why I didn't go back to drinking. It's a wonder why. And for him, he's saying, look, Christ and understanding who he is connected to the great I am God, which is in the area of Exodus. We see that. And whatever God is, I'm connected to, and I am. So I can be at that place of being the head and not the tail. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am recovered. I am transformed by the renewing of my mind. I am faith driven. All those things. Like, put your favorite I am in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it, then say it out your mouth. Like for me, like I am victorious, right? I am confident in Christ. Like you can release those things that you're not, because they no longer serve you. And that's the distractions, is keeping you from building that God traction that moves you into that divine action. And this is a brother who is really living in this action. So look, there's some other things I'm knowing is happening. You got some things going on, getting ready to launch a business in the area of recovery. I want to know a little bit about that. But the question I have behind it is, like, what are some hidden addictions or subtle distractions, like, that you have even seen faith-driven leaders wrestle with?
Oh yeah. I mean, just the list is exhaustive. Working is like I have to do all this stuff myself because it's about me. Look at me. Look at me. Those aspects. I mean, gambling, porn, sex, I mean, social media. I mean, there are all these distractions pastors deal with and people that are faith leaders. And I'd say the biggest hidden one is sex and pornography. Not necessarily sex, but
Ooh.
pornography. Because I mean
Wow.
that's an easy one. I mean we got it right here. I can check it out right now if I want to on my phone while I'm sitting at the stoplight, or you got your. I think one thing is good for pastors that struggle with it is have your computer monitor face the door. So when people walk in, you don't have to be like, whoop, or like you are accountable to anyone walking through that door if your computer monitor is facing, like the screen is facing the door somehow, where someone just walks in and you don't have to have that crazy little look of like, hi, come on in. Yeah. What do you got? Nothing, man.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. But there is that one. But I mean, alcohol is a big one too. I mean, it's just drinking because it's when I started doing addiction interventions, if the outcome didn't turn out the way I wanted it to with the family, if they didn't accept help, if they didn't want this, I took it on as like, what did I do wrong? Like what?
Wow.
Dang it, man! It's my responsibility, and eventually God just said, stop it. It's my responsibility. You just show up, do the work, and if they're going to take it, they're going to take the help. If they're not, they're not. But you're just show up with the best equipped thing that you can do to help somebody. And so, yeah, for faith leaders and stuff, I mean, I hear all the time, and I'm part of men's groups and, all these groups. And it's like, you're like, oh, Rob, it's kind of one of those funny things, Christian. So imagine sitting in a coffee shop, okay? And you're hanging out with your buddy. You got to talk about, oh, man, I'm free from my substance abuse. Oh, man, it's so good. Congratulations. I quit doing cocaine. That's amazing, man. Good for you. I'm really working on my workaholism. That's amazing. And then you go, oh man, my porn addiction, that's really under control. It's like the record stops. People look over and it's like, dude, look around our society. It's everywhere, God makes beautiful women. You can acknowledge that and leave it there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with the porn and sex addiction. It's just a different conversation. I mean, it's all about intimacy disorder, really.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's we didn't learn early on how to have a healthy relationship with the opposite sex. I mean, women struggle with porn and sex addiction too, right? It's not just a guy thing. But think about that conversation in a coffee shop, or if there's two different tables, one guy's talking about addiction from substances, and one gal's talking about her freedom from sex and porn addiction. And it's like people are going to move away from the table with the sex talk and move closer. Hey, man, congratulations on your sobriety.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
hey, man, congratulations on not masturbating for 6 months.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
Why is that?
It's uncomfortable because sex and porn addiction that hits the soul. That's a relational thing. You are, when men or women take that opportunity to, step into an action by themselves, that is a completely self-serving moment, right? And But I mean, it's an uncomfortable thing, I think, because a lot of people deal with it. No one wants to really talk about it. But I think more and more people are talking about it, which is cool. And more books. Like I just got back from the AACC conference in Nashville, American Association of Christian Counselors conference. And dude, I would probably say, well, your name's Christian, not dude. Hey, Christian.
That's
I would
fine. That's
probably
fine.
say that, I don't know, probably 25, 30% of the boost there all dealt with sex, porn, marriage, addiction, like sexual struggles. And there's so many programs out there for a reason, because someone was hurt. They came up with a program and now they're helping people. Cool. Hey, dude, if you got a program, go create it or partner with someone that already has one and send people there. But it's a big problem. That's definitely not
So,
America's number one addiction. That's for sure.
wow. So, all right, somebody's listening. They're hearing what you're saying. All right, Christian, you said Rob's a coach and he's a business owner and he has all this stuff that's going on. He's talking about, addiction and all these other different things like that. And he seems very insightful and has some wisdom in this area. How can I connect with Rob? What is this business that he's talking about? Like, talk to me about this, because I want them to be able to connect, because I've asked you off camera, do people have to actually be in your area to participate? And you gave me a unique answer pertaining to that area, right? So I don't want to steal your thunder, but talk to us about it, because somebody's listening and they need this help.
Sure. That's cool. Thanks for that too. So there are lots of amazing individuals around the country that can help people for sure. So my goal is to help connect people to that right person. And if it's me, cool. If it's not, someone else, right? There are reasons, or the reasons I have a vast network of professionals that I work with, right? There's a reason why I feel confident in opening up this new Christ-centered addiction outpatient program in Colorado. And the reason is because there's a need and there's a gap in coverage. There are a lot of great secular programs out there that do a good job and help people break the cycles of addiction. And I feel like it just stops there. A lot of them are shame-based. A lot of them are fear of your past-based. A lot of them are, we're just going to kind of glorify a 12-step program and charge you 40 grand a month and get you some help, and then you're going to go home. And so here's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is I see people struggle a lot with the secular stuff. And when you add Jesus, like the back of my t-shirt say, recovery plus Jesus equals transformation. I believe that wholeheartedly, because I don't want to just like survive in my life. I want to thrive in my life, right? And so many people are they're fearful of it. If I don't go do this, I'm going to relapse. Like if I don't go to a meeting today, I'm going to relapse. My name's Rob. I'm an alcoholic, and I identify myself that the rest of my life. That is a shame-based label that identifies someone as their past. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you are only an alcoholic the rest of your life if you convince yourself you are and you haven't drank in 20 years. Why are you still calling yourself an alcoholic? Call yourself a child of God who used to struggle with addiction, but I've been freed from that through the blood of Christ and my relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's what we're doing here in this new program. It's called Lifted from the Rut, Christ-Centered Recovery Services. And you can just go to ChristianRehabServices.com and check it out. If you live in Colorado, you can physically come to our program. And if you physically live in Colorado and you aren't close to where we live, you can join us virtually for our program. And if you live out of the state of Colorado and you want some Christian coaching, I can help you with that. But I can also connect you to programs in your state, hopefully, and if I don't know them, I'll research it for you and get back to you. I just want people to, I didn't expect that. I've had too many stories of people that could have found freedom and chose not to. People that I know is like, man, I wanted to call you, but I called you and we just weren't ready as a family to do anything. And Johnny passed away, or just all this stuff. I hear them all the time, man. And it is sad because there is a solution to help people find freedom. And I got to tell you this, mom and dad and sister and brother and coworker, you aren't it. You're a conduit to help your loved one. And sometimes you're probably getting in the way of helping your loved one find that freedom. But you're doing the best you can. And unless people learn new tools on how to support a loved one that struggles with addiction, whether it's sex, porn, gambling, Facebooking, shopping, Amazoning, whatever. There are healthy boundaries that family members can put into place to move their loved one towards freedom. And you want to know one of the big fears, Christian, that people ask me when they call me?
Tell me.
But man, if I confront my loved one, what if they push me away and they go commit suicide? I hear that all the time. But if I cut them off, if I don't pay their rent, if I take away their car, if I take away their cell phone, if I do those things, but what if they end up killing themselves or hurting themselves or somebody else? And that, unfortunately, is an element of control, as hard as it is to say, but it is not you don't have control over that. You can have an impact on it. And I've had family members that have cut, and I'm not like a cut and dry kind of guy, Christian. It's not like, we'll just cut everything off now and put them into shock tomorrow. But let's get a plan, because I know you want to pay their rent so they have a place to live. But maybe not having a place to live is the one thing that would save their life, because they realize they need a place to live. So there's a lot of intelligent talk around healthy boundaries with people to help them. And I just got to say that when I see people put Jesus Christ in the middle of their recovery, a lot of amazing things can happen. Now, there are people that have gone to, just regular treatment centers and 12-step programs. And dude, they're amazing people. They've changed their life. They are killing it in business. And they're just, and I love that. There's kind of just that eternal transformational piece that some people are missing. And for me, I believe it 100%. And I just want people to know that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Rob. Let's go into pretty much our part we call a present-centered perspective, where I sum some of this stuff up. What I love about Rob's story is that he didn't just recover from something. He recovered for something. And my brother and my sister, that's present-centered living, allowing God to transform the pain into purpose. So maybe today your distraction isn't addiction, but maybe it's busyness, or maybe it's fear, like we talked about, or comparison, as we talked about in the area of the distraction pillar and destroying it, the rinse method that's in the book, The Present-Centered Path, that comes out in December. Remind yourself, like, I have to recognize this distraction. R, I need to identify my divine assignment. N, I need to neutralize the noise. S, let me starve what's misaligned. And E, let me execute from my center. And from this place, that's where restoration is going to begin. Rob gave us what we need to go ahead and do. We can be in a posture and place. You felt his heart. You're seeing now how to contact. What good is information without transformation, dedication, and then demonstration? Demonstrate the information that you are getting. Connect with Rob. Connect with the business and the ministry that he has. We'll put all this stuff in the area of the show notes. Follow him on social media. Connect. He said, look, if it's not me, then I'm connected to it. And that's a heart of a leader that is Christ-centered, wanting to do God's will, word, and way. So, Rob, thank you so much for taking this time to speak to us. Listen, if this episode blessed you all, share it with somebody who is ready to live present-centered. Again, connect with Rob. And I always love for our guests to end us with that area of speaking a word over us. So, Rob, not only do I thank you for modeling what it means to rebuild with God's grace, but share something to somebody who is listening and they feel like, I hear what you're saying, I'm at a very difficult time. That sounds very hard to go ahead and do. What would you tell them to help them to get into that place of demonstration?
So if you ask yourself this question, what identifies me? I'd be curious to know what your answer is. And part of it is, if God identifies who you are and you live out of that, then a lot of other noise in the world is just going to kind of fade away. But if society defines you, good luck.
Love it. Thank you again for serving us today. To everyone that is listening, remember, there's nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken within you. As you're cooperating with God, you are already trusted and carrying what heaven has entrusted you. We need to align with that realm, okay? So until next time, stay present, be blessed, and we appreciate you.